With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Welcome everybody to RaceSpotTV for the third round of the PRL Formula D and Formula C series. This time we are racing at Zandvoort in the Formula 4s and we are racing at Road Atlanta in the Formula 3s. I'm Reese Gardner, joined in the commentary box by Derek Watson. Well, Derek, I'm looking forward to this one. Zandvoort in Formula 4s. It's going to be a fun night of racing.
It is going to be a fun night of racing, Reese. And, you know, one of the biggest question marks is, while a lot of people are familiar with Zandvoort, it's been a track that's been available in iRacing for a long time. This may be a lot of people's first race with the new configuration. We'll have to see what kind of drama and suspense that brings to this race.
Yeah, absolutely. This layout of Zandvoort was introduced in the last season build, introducing a couple of new corners. And of course, there's plenty of fantastic tracks being visited here on the Formula 4 schedule. We've already seen two spectacular rounds at Interlagos and the Hungaro Ring. Then we go to Lime Rock Park, Suzuka, Watkins Glen, Spa-Francorchamps, Nürburgring, Summit Point and Silverstone to round out the season. An excellent track selection indeed. Also, looking at the points, Jake Vasconcelos in the championship lead by only 2 points over Andrew Moran, who finished second at round one. Michael Diaz has been the fastest driver in Formula 4 for the time being, but he hasn't quite gotten the results he's needed. So he sits down in 8th spot. There's still plenty of points up for grabs through the rest of the season, though. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do here at Zandvoort. Moran, though, really pressuring him. It will be interesting indeed. We look through as well to the team standings as well. YS Motorsports, we've got the likes of Moran, Vasconcelos, and Michael Dowden in that team, and they are dominating the championship standings right now. Only a few points separating second on back, so still plenty of jostling about to be seen here in the first of the rounds of this season. Plenty of fun indeed in the Precision Racing League, and there's plenty of supporters of the Precision Racing League as well. Let's thank them very quickly. Of course, we have to thank Advanced Sim Racing for their sponsorship of this series. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminium profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using Precision5 as the coupon code on checkout, Precision5. We also like to thank Racebox Sim Racing, who offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts. From the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver, they're competitively priced and carefully handcrafted. They are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. You can visit raceboxsimracing.com and get a 5% discount, again using the Precision5 coupon code. Butt Kicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. We've also got Maker Sim Hardware on board, a small company from the Czech Republic. Their goal is to produce high-quality sim racing hardware. If you're looking for a high-end pedal set, handbrake, or sequential shifter, visit Mecha Sim Hardware's eShop right now to get you up to speed. Moradness is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. For more information, visit moradness.com. And of course, Mr. Hedge iRacing Photography. Capture your finest, proudest, or simply worst moments from your hobby in up to 8K resolution. A great addition to any sim room. Well, this is going to be a fun one, Derek. We have got qualifying in hand at the moment for the PRL F4 series. Currently, Andrew Moran is on top with championship leader Jake Vasconcelos in second. There isn't much separating them though, only about a tenth.
Only about a tenth is right, so it's kind of a flip-flop of our championship standings currently with Moran up top there. About 4 minutes left here with this unique qualifying format where guys are going to wait till the very last second at times to come down here and put down laps. Of course, this is a beautiful track. It's got 14 corners. Let's watch Jake Faulkner here. It's a little use of the curb here through this left-hander here. Man, use of the curbs in an F4 car. It's kind of right on the verge of danger, right, Reese?
Yeah, it definitely is the edge of danger on this circuit. This place opened in the late 1940s, and it's been a very challenging track in almost every configuration ever since. Here comes Jake Faulkner to the line, 1 minute 53.5. That is an outlap, I believe, as we see drivers going through the newer section of the circuit, which first opened in the late 80s. Of course, the run from turn 1 up to the Skyblock corner, that very long sweeping right-hander, is the original layout of the track. Used to be around the same length, but it was a lot faster. Regardless, it's a pretty modern venue, and I think it provides good racing.
Yeah, it does provide good racing. I see these big banked corners. That'll provide a lot of good racing. You should be able to hold these cars pretty well flat out, or at least get a lot of gas into them through those big banked corners you're going to see there. Now we're watching Jason Ainsberg come around there. Now here is Vasconcelos, who is now down to third, by the way, while we were looking at Frankie Arvello took over P2. So remember, when you do get a bonus point in the PRL for taking the pole, at the end of the season, those can mean something. So Vasconcelos and Moran both want to get that prestige tonight.
Absolutely do. Can Moran top him? No. It's 8/10 off his current fastest pace, and with only a few minutes left in qualifying, it looks like that might be the end of it for Moran. He's really disappeared from off the circuit while he was on track, so for him, potentially some technical issues. Let's see how he goes, though, trying to secure that pole position. Frankie Arvello doing very well there, getting up into second place. Diaz currently in fifth spot, and remember, I think he poled it at the first couple of rounds of the season, so still looking for something there from car 17.
Yep, still looking for something there to see what the 17 and others can do here. But look at that time difference at the top of the board, Reese. It's not a whole lot. It's a 33-0 on the top and a 33-1, 33-1, 33-3 for your top four. So there's some space to be found, but not a lot especially between those top three. It's going to be really tight. This will be Sean Duhamel we're going to watch come around here. He's going to try to make a lap here in this beautiful red, white, and blue livery. And as I said, for some of these guys, you have to match. Oh, God, I'm sorry.
Go on. It's all good. Just pointing out the banked final corner there.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's one of the things that fascinates me about this track, and seeing how much, of course, in these cars, every driver wants to get a small bit of a draft if you can find one. But I would think through those banked corners, if you could line it up correctly in these cars, you should get more slipstream or more draft in these cars than we're used to on a standard, flatter road surface, I would think.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons why this final turn was reconfigured in 2019 to have that huge banking. It used to be flat all the way through, but now because it has that banking, main reason was so that they could extend, I think, the DRS zone Formula One races that take place here. So yeah, you're right. Completely flat out to the line, and it's going to be a massive slipstream opportunity into turn one.
Background to Andrew Moran here, navigating this massive 14-corner course. It's about 4,000 kilometers in length, if I recall correctly. So lots of track here. Look at this big, compared to some other tracks we see for the F4s or even the F3s, which we'll watch later. Look at this, a big wide track. There's not too many narrow spots. We've, of course, taken these cars to some pretty narrow tracks, whether it be Aragon or others, where it's hard to pass. There's plenty of lanes here for passing if you can find the opportunity and make it happen.
checkered flag is out in qualifying, so this is going to be, I was going to say it'd be Moran's last opportunity, but he's run wide there.
Well, in this qualifying format, he will get to finish his lap. So as long as you started the lap before the checkered flag comes out, the admins will let them finish it. Look at that draft right there.
Yeah, that's good there. The YS Racing teammates helping each other out there. Moran remains on pole. Yeah, unfortunately, running a bit too wide in the second last corner. That would have gotten him an off track and invalidated his lap. So no opportunity to improve there. What about Jake Faulkner? It looks like he's kept it clean. So checkered flag will be found for him. He will finish his lap 133.57. That's not quite what he needs to improve on his starting position. Aside from that, looks like there's only a few drivers out there on the circuit at the moment, and it's like the majority of them have finished their lap. So Jake Faulkner will continue around as much as he can, get some extra track time for the session ticks over. But it's looking pretty close at the top of these standings, Derek, and I think that bodes well for the race.
I think it bodes well for the race as well. And of course, in a moment, the starting grid will load up here and we'll run through it. But I'm excited to see this race at this track and see how this new layout fares with these cars. Of course, these vehicles specifically are seeing a resurgence in iRacing due to the focus given on them, but it's fun to see. So any moment now, our grid will pop up, Reese, and then you're going to walk us through it whenever that screen loads up in that infamous music.
Diaz improved massively in the last moments of qualifying. Frankie Arvello is going to start alongside Jake Vasconcelos, the championship leader, from 4th, with Michael Dowden and Kevin McPherson in 5th and 6th. In 7th spot, we've got Jake Faulkner in car 54 alongside Tristan Callahan. Dave Peterson shares the 5th row with Brett Accord, Nathan Miller and Corey Precker rounding out the top 12. Justin Delano in lucky 13th, starting alongside Owen McLaughlin, and Eric Evans sharing the next row with Jason Aaronsberg, with Harris and Hotham in 17th and 18th. 19th, Brandon Walter. He starts alongside Sean Duhamel to round out the top 20. Donald Olson, David Hebert, Tyler Gore, and Christopher Perez rounding out our 24-car field, covered by 3.5 seconds. So that is how they start here. Standing start, of course, in the F4s. And it's all about that run to turn 1, Derek. It's a bit of a short one here at Zandvoort. Not as much of an opportunity to get up to speed as there is on other tracks.
Yep, just like any standing start, the first key will be getting that correct response time, reaction time, and getting through the gears. But it's just that run to turn 1 and avoiding whatever calamity will happen on the run to turn 1 will be the 2 keys here to start this race.
Yeah,
we're waiting for a couple of last cars to grid here.
Yeah, very tight first sector indeed here at Zandvoort. Not only do you have to navigate through Tarzan, but then you also have to go through the Gerlachbocht on your way down to Hugenholz, the very highly banked left-hander. A couple of drivers go through a lot of space through that corner, so I'm looking forward to seeing how people determine the inside line through there. Usually the outside line is the fastest through turn 3.
We're about ready to grid, and we're missing P2 and P3. That's going to be a big impact, right?
Yeah, it is. Well, there's still 20 seconds left on the grid time. They're probably waiting until the last possible moment to get that started. So hopefully they do appear on the grid. Otherwise, it's going to be a huge advantage for Andrew Moran. There's Arvello, and there is Diaz. So 2 teammates there make their way through, and the time hits 0. The revs rise. It is a Formula 4 symphony here at Zandvoort, and we are go. It's a great start from Andrew Moran. Unfortunately, it looks like Diaz and Arvello didn't quite get the standing start down. Jake Vasconcelos trying to maintain 4th place here on the inside of his teammate Michael Dowden as they make their way through turn 1 for the first time. Nice and clean for the time being. Looks like the front runners are keeping it stable here. Diaz was able to protect 2nd place, but I'm already seeing a run from Michael Dowden for 2nd spot. He's trying to pull out there on Diaz as it's on for 5th spot. and fourth. Vasconcelos holding off McPherson and Arvello. Unfortunately, Arvello on the outside wasn't able to get it done. Diaz defending from Michael Dowden as they come through Skyblock.
Come down through Skyblock, and said this will kind of start the newer portion of the track. And now we're going to see a tight battle here coming back through the field. But as you said, everything is clean so far as I could see with my eyes. I was looking back and forth. So nice first, at least half a lap so far, or part of a lap. But to see already it's getting single file here, Reese, with Moran up here by about a second over the rest of the field.
Yeah, and I think he'll be grateful for that, because in the first two rounds so far, Diaz and Moran have both come together battling for the lead. So any space that those guys have versus each other will be certainly appreciated. Vasconcelos, meanwhile, keeping fourth spot, but he is getting pressured by Kevin McPherson, his teammate at that particular racing team. Dowden, though, in the draft of Diaz, and it looks like it might be on for second coming to the first turn here. Vasconcelos still holding off McPherson, and looks like a move around the outside for Jake Faulkner there, trying to get by Tristan Callahan. Battle for sixth place at the moment, and they almost come together through Gerlach box, but there we go. Looks like a bit of an over-under from Callahan to try and maintain the momentum, but it isn't working.
By the way, a big moment. I don't know if it was a movement penalty for jumping the lights on the grid or what happened, but Frankie Arvello in the back of your screen there went down pit road as I came around the first time. My guess would be, without confirmation from an admin, that that's going to be a penalty for moving on the grid before the lights came out. It's either that or he forgot to put gas in from qualifying, and I'm more likely guessing it's going to be the movement penalty.
Yeah, potentially. That's not the start that Frankie Arvello would have wanted. He's down at 18th now, and we still have plenty of time left in this race to sort that out. I believe the drivers also have to take a pit stop over the course of this race as well.
Yeah, they definitely have to pit during this race, so that'll come. We always try to guess it out around halfway, but this is Michael Diaz and Michael Downs, the battle of the Michaels for P2 and P3. Seeing here racing, and see Dowden's trying to find that little bit of draft as they come down, this long straightaway to see what they can make happen. Now they're side by side, and man, that was close. It still is close, in fact.
Yeah, Diaz is racing that thing like it's a touring car. He was almost inside Dowden's wheels there. So, gotta be careful not to get too close. These being open wheelers, they're very sensitive to stuff like that. He does keep second place for the time being, and I'm seeing that there's a few battles throughout the field. Of course, there's this one for second. I'm also seeing that Jason Arensberg is trying to fend off Eric Evans down the field. We'll stay with this one for now. Precision Racing Esports car of Michael Diaz. This is going to be fun here, coming through the newer section of the track. This is where some of the best overtaking opportunities are. Update on Arvello, meanwhile. He's starting to make his way up. He's just past David Hebert for 17th, so we'll see where he ends up by the end of this race.
Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see how that does play, as you said, and who knows what will happen. He'll get that extra, I guess, lap of gas, depending on what the penalty was. It may have only been a drive-through. I was trying to confirm that on the pit deltas. I'll take a look in a second, but now the game begins, and now if you're Arvello, you're just kind of waiting to see if you can pass some cars who make other mistakes, whether those be penalties or bad pit stops or, unfortunately, maybe a wreck or a spin, and see if you can salvage a decent day. Now, remember, everyone in this series are PRL F4. I mixed my words together there. They do get a drop week here. So, at worst, this will just be Frankie Arvello's drop week, where the points won't matter, and he'll just have a chance to make it up somewhere else.
Looks like Jason Arensberg might need a drop week from this round as well. He's just spun it, fortunately, coming out of the Hans Ernstbach. No other cars involved, but he's been able to get going without much fuss. We'll see what happened to him here on the replay. Cool. Arensberg just getting a little bit too far onto the grass and losing traction already. So,
and realistically, he never had that car saved. Like, you saw him on the inside of the corner, of the middle of that corner. He was already up on the curb on the inside, and that car was wobbling. I just don't think he ever got it saved from that, and then that's what caused him. That's at least what helped him spin it around on the outside of the exit of that corner.
Oh, and I've just seen that Arvello has fallen down the order again, and he's retired. He's out. Frankie Arvello is out, and so is Tyler Gore. It looks like something might have happened between those two down in the field, and oh dearie me, it's not good at all. Going through turn 3, Arvello trying to go around the outside of Gore, but then on the exit they come together, and Arvello with a massive crash in car 28, and that is the end of his race.
That's unfortunate for Arvello. So qualified well, had all the potential in between the penalty and that, and just call it a night. Everyone has that. Oh man, it's that we almost saw that earlier. In fact, with the Dowden and Diaz, that's how close they were last time. That's what they were risking the danger of. Luckily, they avoided it, but Arvello did not have the same luck here.
No, so it's definitely going to be a drop round now for Frankie Arvello. Michael Diaz with the fastest lap so far, still chasing down Andrew Moran for this race, but he's getting pressured massively by Michael Dowden here. This is a beautiful battle we're seeing at the moment, and we're only 7 minutes into this race now. And if it's this fantastic already, who knows what the next 28 minutes are going to bring coming down into the field section. This is a really difficult corner, Derek. It's so hard to get right. This entire sequence, you don't have any moment to rest.
No, that's one thing about this track is with it being, just fast in general, you feel that way, but especially corners that wind back and forth like that, it's hard to think you have a moment to stop and breathe and to kind of gather yourself, because you always have to be ready for the next movement in this course. And of course, this series is new. We're going to watch on board here. It's a beautiful shot here with Michael Dowden. This series is new this season, Reese. This is a new addition to the Precision Racing League Thursday night schedule, and I'm just stoked to see drivers out here doing it. This is a pretty decently sized field for a new format or a new series here in the Precision Racing League.
Yeah, of course, PRL runs plenty of leagues across different disciplines of racing, and their Formula 3 series has been active for quite a few years, and F4 now joining roster 2. It looks like, with 24 cars taken to the grid at this round, and it is round 3 as well. Obviously, big turnouts in the early rounds of the season. Considering the commitment of these drivers, you're going to see grids about the same size on the way through. Diaz currently starting to drive away from Michael Dowden. It looks like he's gotten into a good rhythm at the moment, and despite that, still not quite as quick as Andrew Moran in the lead of the race. Moran's last lap was a 1 minute 33.18, 1 minute 33.3 for Diaz, so 2/10 lost. At the moment, the race is Andrew Moran's to lose, but this battle here between Faulkner and Callahan for 6th has been going on for a long time here, and I'm really enjoying seeing how hard they're racing each other. Is there going to be a move for Callahan down at Hans Ernstbocht? He sees the door open, but he doesn't take it.
No, but he's thinking about it, though. It's not for a lack of effort that he's not taking that spot. It's just that he can't find a way to make it reasonably work. You see that car moving back and forth through those last few corners. He was trying to find any opening that he could here. So Tristan Callahan, of course, had a decent start to the season and is doing well here tonight. But, of course, up front, it's still the same as Moran, Diaz. But Diaz just put down the new fastest lap of the race right there. That's where you see that purple indicator on the left side of your screen. So Diaz slowly wants to inch forward and see if he can catch up with Andrew Moran.
Yeah, and that was quite the gain as well. It was nearly half a second that he gained on Moran there on that lap. So see if Diaz can maintain that momentum and try and jet up to the back of him, try and pass for the lead. Moran's been controlling this race nicely so far. Car 99 looking very consistent out there. Crew putting in a good amount of effort to their setups. Moran,
now,
the
draft
very
on
consistent and fast driver too.
Sorry, the draft on F4 is not as strong as other vehicles in the iRacing service. So if he was within NASCAR range, quote, he would be within drafting range right now at about 1 second. For the F4's race, what you need to be about half a second back to really feel the effects of that slipstream.
Yeah, I'd say so. Maybe, yeah, a second to half a second.
But you can see that gap is closing. That gap looks a lot closer than what it did on the screen. You can see it visually. You can see how close these cars are, you know, how well they fit into a camera shot. If you want to think of it from a broadcast perspective, you can tell that Moran's just, you know, maybe backing up a little bit. Maybe he doesn't want to burn as much fuel, or maybe Diaz is having a great run here. But look at that. It is much closer than it once was a few minutes ago.
Yeah, I did notice that Moran was a lot less aggressive through the penultimate corner than Diaz was. Diaz was all over the curb on the exit, but Moran barely touched it. So that tells the story. Moran trying to just look after the car, Diaz on the chase, and see now how big Moran's car is in Diaz's view. 3.5 minutes to go, and plenty of time to get the move done if he needs to. But when the pit stop cycle comes around, does he want to put the car in front?
Yeah, that'd be the question. And that's sort of what I was surprised about with Diaz and Vasconcelos and the cars behind us, that they weren't working together a bit more to save some fuel, and they could undercut the pit stop just based upon purely time and box. Obviously, they're not going to do that, and maybe that will be Diaz's goal here. Not make the pass, but maybe sit back here, save a little bit of fuel, and maybe you pass Moran on pit road. We see that commonly here in the F4 and the F3 series on Thursday nights.
Right. Well, that's a bit of a mistake there from Moran. He went wide out of Hans Ernstbock. That's a couple more tenths lost there to Diaz. And once again, through the penultimate corner, Diaz catches up just a little bit more. He is truly in slipstream range, and Moran's been doing this for the last couple of laps now, just sticking to the inside out of the final corner, preemptively defensive. Diaz still not close enough to get the move done. On that occasion, it looks like Dowden was the fastest car in the top three, 33.15 versus a 33.2 for Diaz and a 33.5 for Moran. So looks like this top three is starting to compress.
They are starting to compress. And something I want to bring up as a topic, Reese, before it happens, so we can talk about it. When we come back around this time by and we get out of the final corner, look at that entrance and that shape of the entrance to pit road. That weird curve could cause a problem for someone. And if it does, it's going to cause problems for everyone behind them who's trying to get on pit road. That is an oddly shaped entrance that is very sudden. And I hope everyone put practice into that, and that no one finds themselves on the unfortunate end of a bad entry.
Yeah, I hope so too. And, you know, you can tie that into Moran's line out of the final corner that we've seen him do for the last couple of laps. If he does that again and the pit cycle comes around, Diaz won't be sure whether or not he's going defensive for turn one or he's going for pit road. He is pushing hard as Andrew Moran. He sees Diaz rounding up to him, and now he's thinking, okay, it's time to start driving with my mirrors.
Yep, time to start driving with the mirrors. And here we come through this penultimate corner here, and off on now screen left. You would have seen it back there. It's hard to see from an angle, but yeah, it's kind of a weird, it's like a very fast V-shaped entry on the pit road. But wow, look at Diaz. He is all over this back bumper here. Now, the question I don't know in my head is does he want to try to make a pass? As you said, he's had some pretty bad luck the past couple weeks with trying to make passes and trying to make moves. Maybe he's content to sit back here and race and see what comes to him.
Yeah, maybe. Zandvoort is a difficult track to pass on in most sections of the circuit. I'd say that turn one is probably the best overtaking opportunity around here. Throw in the entry to Hans Ernstbock, maybe the second last corner as well, but it's all about the slipstream down the start-finish straight. So maybe Diaz is gearing up for that, or could throw in your point earlier, Derek. Maybe he wants to get close enough to sit in the draft and save a bit of fuel so he can undercut at the pit stop. We'll have to wait and see.
And even if that's not his goal, of course, a big challenge with these open wheel cars, both the Formula Cs and the Formula Ds, or the F4s and F3s, whatever you want to call them, is that breaking that bubble, breaking that aero bubble when you get to within about 3 to 4 tenths of a second behind. Breaking that bubble is a tough task. And so even if your goal is not to sit back there and save gas, that might be what that bubble does to you. and you're just kind of forced to take that strategy. Looking, he's not really trying to like move out of line or anything. He is sitting right there. He is not trying to move out of line and find a different lane or more grip. He's almost content.
Yeah, and he's not being quite as aggressive as we'd usually expect. I mean, remember, I made the point earlier, Diaz and Moran came together when battling for the lead in both rounds of the season run so far. So maybe third time's the charm, and they're hoping for a bit of a cleaner battle. Diaz probably backing off a little bit just because he's like, okay, let's not have a repeat of what happened at Interlagos and the Hungaro ring.
Yep. So, we were talking about this track earlier and how it's new and a new configuration and whatnot. But something I found interesting about this track, Reese, it is 14 corners, and it is one of the few road courses I can think of that every corner has a name.
Yes. Absolutely.
I mean, a lot of road courses have names for some corners, and some are just turn whatever. But here we can run through it for you as we go through the corners here. But every corner has a name.
Yeah, exactly. I think as we go through this battle, we can have a tour around this circuit. Of course, through the last corner, Arie Luyendyk-bocht was named that in the late 1990s, and now it's definitely befitting Arie Luyendyk's name. Diaz coming down the start-finish straight to Tarzan-bocht, the first corner. It's a beautiful hairpin, this one. Then the next turn, it's going to be the right-hander at Gerlach-bocht, which is named for Dr. Wim Gerlach, who's unfortunately lost his life in a race in the early 1950s. Then there's the Hugenholz-bocht, this corner here. Incredibly fast, banked hairpin. And then down through the S-bends past Rob Slaughtermacher-bocht. And then we go to Schrijvlok at the halfway point of the lap. Next corner is the Mastersbocht, that kink that you just saw there. And then these two turns are the only numbered ones on the circuit as Moran runs a little bit wide and Diaz potentially sees a pass there. Replay, meanwhile, of Christopher Perez down at Tarzan. He locked up and ran wide onto the grass and gravel. Not as much of a death sentence as it was in the past on iRacing, but he manages to get going while losing a bit of time. That battle's still going on through the Hans Ernst-bocht for Moran and Diaz. We'll keep an eye on Jason Arensberg here, who's unfortunately had a spin at Hugenholz. Manages to keep it out of the barriers, though, which is good.
That is good. It's pretty good catching of that car to get a stop right there. Almost at like the halfway spin. Almost, I guess, 90 degrees and get that caught there. But yeah, I was trying to think in my head, and of course, you're a little better at this than I am for the road courses, Reese. Is there another road course you can think of where every corner has a name?
Probably Spa-Francorchamps, Nürburgring.
Do all of them have
Usually
names?
Maybe not all of them, as Diaz goes in
Oh,
the lead.
hold on.
This looks like the side-by-side battle has eventuated in Diaz's favor. Pretty fantastic there. Like a tiny bit of contact. Moran back in second and now facing off against Michael Dowden. See then if Dowden finds a way through here. A little bit off the pace, and I can see some damage to Moran's front wing from that.
Yeah, a little bit, that's unfortunate to see that. And you can see there's just the damage, if nothing more than just how under attack he is by his teammate, who's now he's going to pass him on the inside and get a move on. Yeah. That's the simplest way to see that there's damage to that car. Let's watch this again here. We were talking about the corner names as they came down the straight here. And Diaz is just going to ride the inside here and kind of get chased down. And he's going to, out of this corner, I think he's going to flip it around. So they'll take the right-hander here. And he's going to swing to the outside at some point, I thought. Maybe I'm wrong here.
He was on the outside for Gerlach-bocht.
Right here.
Inside for Hugenholz, but yeah, very aggressive in there. Trying to get on the outside line, which is the fastest way through the corner. Unfortunately, he wasn't quite past Moran. And no surprise to see that Andrew comes into the pits, deciding to take his pit stop now, get that fueled up, and fix the damage as well. See how that affects his race from here on out.
Now, if you want to try to put a silver lining on this story for Andrew Miranda, which is hard to do, you could say, well, at least it happened now. Like they're 21 minutes in or almost 21 minutes into this race. It happened now. So he can take the pit stop right now, get the gas and the repairs. It's a normal scheduled stop. It's different than if this would have happened, lap 1, lap 2, where Moran would have had to have stopped and then stopped again for gas later.
Yeah, absolutely. So not all bad here for David Moran. Remember, everyone else in the field still has to come in. Kevin McPherson and Dave Peterson have also taken stops. David Hebert is coming into the lane. We've also seen Duhamel and Arensberg making their way in. We have, looks like 7 drivers out of the race at the moment. Just varying fortunes through the first few laps. And I want to highlight something here, Derek. That damage repair for Moran, his pit stop was 11.7 seconds. You compare that to less than 5 seconds for the drivers that didn't have damage and only had to fuel it up. So maybe he's at a further disadvantage now.
Oh, he definitely is at a disadvantage, 100% at a disadvantage from that. And now he'll have to kind of scratch and claw his way back, maybe see if he can salvage a top 5 out of this, with that gap you see back there to maybe Precker, Clay Harris, and Eric Evans back in 6, 7, 8. Maybe when we're all done, that's where he's going to finish as like top 5. But it seems unlikely he'd find his way back to the front here. But now let's take a look up front. It is Diaz and Dowden. We saw this kind of battle happening earlier, but now it's for the lead. And Diaz, I'm surprised. One thing that I was expecting when you see an incident in these cars where one person gets damaged, typically both people get damaged. It's kind of rare for me to see an incident in these cars where one person looks to be unscathed.
Well, I think the reason for that is remembering how the contact was made. Diaz hit Moran's front wing with the side of his car. So Moran's damage was on a more important aerodynamic device. Diaz, meanwhile, looks like probably raised to the side pod of that. So the aerodynamic performance of that car has not been affected.
No, it definitely has not. And I understand why. I'm just saying typically in this series, it's rare to see one person, get out of contact unscathed, whether it be a wiggle or a spin around or something. So I don't want to say good job because it was car contact and, maybe a little aggressive of car contact, but rare, I think would be a good word to use for it. But right now, Michael Dowden is trying all he can, and he's just not seemingly capable of closing that gap to Michael Diaz.
Yeah, it looks like now that Diaz is untroubled in the lead, he's started to put down quick times. Dowden is slightly quicker, though. Took 2/10 out of Diaz on the last lap. So maybe now that his teammate is out of the picture, at least for the moment, Dowden is turning up the aggression. The start-finish straight, meanwhile, the 2 YS Motorsport cars, Moran and McPherson as well. McPherson has already completed his pit stop as well. Just coming out behind them is Jake Faulkner, who's involved in the battle for 6th earlier. Running nicely. Our top 5 still owe us a pit stop as the race enters its final 11 minutes.
Yeah, you'd have to think that would be any moment now as we're about 25 minutes into this run. You had to think that there's got to be just about out of gas. So, as you said, last time we saw Eric Evans and I think Corey Parker did not, but other people went in right there. So I was expecting this next lap or two, Diaz, Dowden, Vasconcelos, Callahan, and Precker would all have to come in pretty soon here. The question is if we could get a camera on Moran, pardon me. Andrew Moran. I'm curious to see where he came out traffic-wise. Did he get clean air or is he stuck in traffic because of when he pitted? That would be a determination on what's going on. There's a slowdown at the last second, though.
Yeah, that's Diaz coming into the lane then. And looks like he decided to take the pit stop first out of our top 2. Dowden continues on. We also see that Tristan Callahan comes into the lane as well behind him. That was a nice quick stop there for Diaz. And see what the camera was like here for Mr. Moran. That's where it comes out with respect to Diaz, still a long way ahead. Andrew Moran now coming up on Tristan Callahan. Just completed his pit stop. So it looks like, as things stand, Moran might be in contention for a podium here. We'll just have to wait and see what Dowden and Vasconcelos do.
All right, well, less than 9 minutes on the clock. So if anyone wants to make a move, or you want to make it start to, I guess, throw it into your final gear, whatever you got left, pushing the gas pedal a little harder. Now's the time to do it, because there's not a lot of time left here in this race. But of course, this is Callahan and Moran we're seeing on track here. This is P4, P5 effectively on the track right now. That said, I believe Dowden and Vasconcelos still have not pitted yet. So we'll have to wait and see where everything cycles. Probably this time by, I would think. I don't know how you go much longer in these cars with about 8.5 minutes left. There you go.
In. Dowden and Vasconcelos to the lane, and Michael Diaz coming through the final corner now. I would assume that Diaz will easily resume the race lead here. It was a quick stop there from Dowden, 4.8 seconds. Diaz, 4.1 seconds on the stop, though. Looks like he is going to retake the race lead there, faster through turn 1, and away he goes. But the gap still not insurmountable for Dowden.
No, not insurmountable, but it seems to be more and more as the seconds tick by here, as we're going to watch Diaz come around out of those corners. This will be a different battle we're going to watch on screen for a second here. I love bright race cars, and of course that is Eric Evans, who pitted a couple laps ago. Do you have a preference, Reese, on bright or dark race cars? Does one more aesthetically pleasing than the other?
I don't know. I tend not to think too much about that when it comes to liveries. I think more about the lines of the colors and how they complement the lines of the car. I do like the variants in liveries that we've seen in PRL open wheelers. Oh, there we go. Looks like Evans coming.
That's going to be again, by the way. I feel like I saw him come down already.
Twice. Yeah, he's already been in twice. That's his third visit to the pit lane. So evidently things not going well there for Eric Evans. He's now back into the position he started, but he'll probably finish a bit further down the order thanks to that. Meanwhile, Andrew Moran still touring around in what is now 4th place. Diaz
he's going to benefit from
a second.
He's going to benefit from the Eric Evans pit road troubles. I'm guessing. Well, I can't see that camera shot. If Evans is coming down, I'm guessing maybe it was speeding, but I don't want to speculate too much without seeing it on screen. But Moran's going to have a P4 here more than likely. That's a good recovery from what happened to him and having to take that double time pit stop.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like there was enough of a gap ultimately in the top 4 for him to slot in, though I have seen that Callahan was pressuring him quite a bit initially. Seems that Callahan has fallen off a little, though, as Moran ran a lap 0.5 of a second faster last time by. Only 5 minutes and 45 seconds to go in this race, and it looks like the lead is still up for grabs, potentially, for Michael Dowden. They've just made their way past the lapped car of Donald Olson. These two will come up on him soon. Gotta say, way that Dowden is driving at the moment, fresh out of the lane, trying to be as aggressive as he can, and look, both of them. Bit of a slide on the exit of the Hans Ernst-Bocht. It's close enough to the slipstream, but I don't know.
It almost feels like, and I know this probably isn't really the scenario, but you know, when you see racing, especially team racing at the end of a stint, you'll hear a car chief or a crew chief kind of let their driver go and say, "Hey, go do what you want. You got the gas for it. Go burn it off," or whatever, whatever that code is. That's what it kind of feels like. It feels like Dowden has some kind of confidence in something, whether it is that he thinks he has enough gas to really press hard on the pedal, or he found some kind of speed in a corner. But man, oh man, he's closing fast here. Look at that.
Dowden was the victor in round 1 at Interlagos after Diaz and Moran came together in the lead. Diaz and Moran came together in the lead again at the Hungaro ring, and once again they came together here at Zandvoort. So now Dowden is facing up against another potential race victory here. Vasconcelos still in 3rd place. That'll be a good haul of points for him. Might just be able to keep 2nd place in the championship. Dowden will move through into the lead. Smooth there that they passed. It's like another retirement from this race potentially. Either that or just a spin. We go then, coming up to traffic, and he is ever closer on the way out of Hans Ernst. Now it's time for the slipstream.
It is time for that slipstream. Let's see what he does with it here. He's going to ride through this corner. And we're going to kind of follow along here. Now we're coming out about 3.5 minutes left, so about 3 laps left, maybe 4 in this race, depending upon when we catch the line on the timer. But what I don't see yet is Dowden willing to make that move to sort of break that draft. But look ahead, lapped traffic, Reese. Could that become a factor in the next 3 minutes and 15 seconds?
Yeah, Eric Evans, fresh out of his 3rd trip down the pit lane. Might come up on him in a bit of an awkward spot. Considering relative distance of the cars, I expect that they'll come together probably around Hans Ernst Bocht towards the end of the lap. See what the pace is like from Evans. Track is a bit narrow in this section of the course, but does widen back up way out of Masters. And look at how aggressive Michael Dowden is on the way into these turns. That YS Motorsport car obviously got a very good front end on it. He is right on the back of Diaz as they come through this left-hand hairpin, completely flat, and no elevation change through there. It's all about mechanical grip and technical prowess. He's not going to be able to get past here. We are coming up to Eric Evans. Looks like Evans might just let them through here on the start-finish straight. I don't think there's going to be much drama here.
But the thing that Diaz could benefit from is just a little bit of draft from Evans before that happens to help open that gap up a little bit here. They're going to come through the penultimate corner. And look, he's kind of following Evans. That's not an accident. He's also sucking a little bit of a slipstream here. Look at that. That's going to help both drivers in the back here. But now Evans, you're right, does pull away. But Diaz says, no, thanks. I'll take that draft until I can't use it anymore.
Oh, lock up from Dowden. Oh,
that's probably going to be the last shot right there.
Yeah. Oh, man, he was so close. But I don't think he's going to have much of a chance to get by now.
And probably what that's a cause of, Reese, what I saw instantly was you had 3-car train who are all drafting right there. At a moment and in a series where you don't have that very commonly, probably Dowden just came in that corner a little hotter and a little faster than he's used to because of that 3-car draft and just didn't realize what his breaking point was.
Yeah, when you're in the slipstream, you do have to brake a little bit earlier. Either that or you have to make sure your tires are truly up to temperature so you don't lock the brakes on the way into the first turn here. You have to be aggressive on the way into Tarzan here. It's a very quick hairpin, and there's a little bit of banking as well. So the line you got to take into there basically mandates that you need to carry the brakes a long way in. Fortunately, didn't work out for Dowden. We are about to come up onto the white flag, though, with only 36 seconds remaining in the race. It'll be a matter of mere seconds for Michael Diaz as he comes out of Arie Luyendyk to take that white flag. Looks like he has just enough of a gap over Dowden that he might just be able to hold on.
Yep, and of course, there on the banners, you see the CM.com sponsorship that started a couple years ago here at Zandvoort. So we'll see how white flag, as you said, in the air. Michael Diaz looks to have this pretty comfortably wrapped up here. What would be the corner here, Reese, you think that Dowden would have, if he had one, would have the best chance of kind of diving it in?
Probably the turn after Masters, the tight right-hander in the middle of the lap, or maybe Hans Ernst Bocht. That's the only other place that he'll be able to get by. But question is, can he get close enough to Diaz to attempt it? These cars don't have as much downforce as higher class open wheelers, but there is still a bit of a dirty air effect as you come through fast corners. It's difficult here for Dowden to jet up to the back of Diaz now that he feels safe in the lead. Let's see then. Exit of this left-hand hairpin out onto the straight, which is not really a straight, blends a little to the left, but still flat out run into Hans Ernst Bocht on the brakes for Diaz. And he nails the line through the corner. Dowden aggressive on the way in. He's trying to search for every opportunity he can to make his way past. But it is over now, I think, with the exit and into Arie Luyendyk flat out to the line. Diaz, after a torrid first couple of rounds of the season, regardless, the win at the Hungaroring and the win at Zandvoort. Michael Diaz is your winner. PRL Formula D here at Zandvoort.
Great run by Michael Diaz. We'll take a look through the fields. Other cars are going to come to the line here. We'll watch a couple more cars come back as we watch Diaz take his cooldown lap here. We'll see who else crosses here. Andrew Moran, by the way, still back in P4, likely where he will and has finished. We'll see a couple more cars. There's another battle right here.
Looks like Brandon Walter and Corey Precker battling for the last position in the top 10. Like Precker's a little bit too far back to really get the run on Walter, but still can catch some slipstream on the way up to the start-finish line. Does he have enough? Look at the draft. It's going to be close between these two, but it looks like Walter is just going to fend off Precker for that 10th spot. Duhamel and Hebert also battling at the moment for 13th place, and Duhamel just defending from Hebert there to the Hans Ernst Bocht. Take care on the exit, guys. And it looks like that is going to be that position sorted too.
Yep. No big moves in the last lap that we can really tell, but a great run by multiple drivers. And another great run by Michael Diaz here to hopefully gain some points in the series.
Yeah, remember, he was 8th in the standings coming into this round. Probably will have to drop the first round at least if he doesn't have any more issues this season. But we can go through those results just to see what the gaps were like throughout the field. Driver of the day, and he can join us for an interview here. We go through this first lap here. Michael, congratulations on another race victory here. It looks like the season is getting on track.
Yeah, for sure. After a rough start, everything has been falling into place except quality. I need to work on that, but overall, yeah, everything has been going well.
It was another big battle with Andrew Moran for the lead of the race, and once again there was a little bit of contact between you two. What was your perspective of that incident?
At first I wasn't sure because it's a banking and I couldn't really see him, but then I looked at the replay and to me it seems like his front wing made contact with the rear of my tire, but I can't really say. If the stewards want to take a look at it, I'm sure they'll know what happened there.
Well, regardless, another good points haul for you. You were 8th place in the standings going into this round, and I suppose round 1 will be your drop for the time being. You still think the championship is a possibility?
Lots of races to go. If I could keep it clean, then perhaps maybe. These guys are pretty quick, so it's always tough. And yeah, if I could just keep round 1 to be my worst, and I'm pretty sure I could fight for it at least.
All right. Well, thanks very much for joining us, Michael, and hopefully we get another chance to talk to you next round.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Have a good night.
Michael Diaz there. And second place, Derek, was Michael Dowden. Another fantastic run from this man. Having a chat now.
Yeah, Michael Dowden, great run here tonight. It looks like at one point you were right up on Diaz and maybe had that run. Just got a little too hot into turn one there, but about 2 laps ago. What happened there?
Yeah, we had that lap traffic coming in, so we had a little bit more top speed there, and I was just trying to leave the brakes as late as possible. They locked up a little bit, but I saved it pretty quick, so I didn't lose too much time there. But yeah, just too much time lost all over the place, just little bits, and that's what made the difference today.
So it felt like you sort of had, I guess, what we call a front row seat or a ringside seat to the contact between Diaz and Moran. What was your perspective, or were you too far back to really see anything?
Yeah, I was surprised that Diaz went on the inside at turn 3. Usually that's kind of no man's land, especially in these cars. You can just take so much more speed holding around the outside that trying to go in and out is just, it's never worth it. So when I saw them both go in side by side turn 3, I really wasn't sure what was going to happen there, and it looked like Diaz just kind of went up the track into Andrew's space and cut him off, and that's what caused the contact and the damage. But yeah, we'll have to take a look at it and see what happened.
Yeah, so a great run this week after your DNF last week. What's your favorite track you're looking forward to as the season progresses?
That's a great question. Let me pull up the schedule. 'Cause
Tracks
I
like
honestly
Spa, the
forgot.
Glen, many others up to Nürburgring still on the schedule. Did any of those stand out to you?
Spa will be interesting. Of course, you've always got the draft train for Spa, so that would probably be the most exciting race of the season, I think. Besides that, the tracks we've ran have really been really good so far. So honestly, I think it should just be a good time the rest of the season. Looks like it's a good set of tracks.
Awesome. Well, listen, great job in the P2 tonight, and we'll see you next week.
All right, thank you.
All right, that is Michael Dowden. He finished P2. And Reese, we're back to you.
Indeed. I've got Jake Vasconcelos with me at the moment, and that was another fantastic result for you, Jake. You came into this round as the championship leader and still holding on to a good spot coming out of this round too.
Yeah, not bad. I'll take it.
Absolutely. How was the race for you, considering, this is a very twisty track. It can be difficult to make passes, but still certainly looked like a good run through the first few laps.
Yeah, felt good overall. It's kind of lonely in retrospect, but yeah, just couldn't quite keep the pace up there to put more pressure.
Do you think Lime Rock is going to be a track that smiles upon you a little more?
Let's hope. I've raced Lime Rock a decent amount, a lot more than Zandvoort and Hungaroring, so I tend to do better on new tracks that I learned, but we'll see.
We shall see indeed. Hopefully we get another chance to chat to you at Lime Rock, Jake. Congratulations on the podium.
Hey, thanks. Have a good night.
Jake Vasconcelos there. And, well, that's going to round out the proceedings for PRL Formula D. Of course, as we alluded to, next round, next week, is going to be at Lime Rock Park. That's the Grand Prix layout. Lovely flowing circuit for this one, Derek, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, looking forward to it indeed. A lot tighter racing surface, so maybe a more difficult racing surface. So maybe some more action will be seen on the track next week. But now I'm excited. We're going to travel a continent pretty quickly here, Reese.
Yeah, that we are. We are going to move through to Formula 3 in just a few moments' time. We are at Road Atlanta for the PRL Formula C Series. It's a bit of a popular track this week, of course. Petit Le Mans is happening this weekend, and it will be broadcast thanks to RaceSpotTV and on iRacing Live as well. Looking forward to that. We have that open wheeler action to come very shortly. And tell you what, Formula 3 schedule is one heck of a schedule as well. Really sequence of tracks that we are coming to over the next 7 or so weeks. Already went to Suzuka and to Bathurst. This is a truly beautifully curated selection of great tracks across the world, Derek.
It really is. Of course, Road Atlanta this week, Red Bull Ring next week, then Oregon. That's sort of the tight track in the schedule, and VIR, the Montreal track, Sebring, Belle Isle, and the Watkins Glen with the boot layout will round out. That'll be right after U.S. Thanksgiving. That'll be round 10. That'll round us out here. But the points in this Formula 3 series, Reese, they are interesting. There's a lot of changes here. Let's take a look at the points real quick and go through them. David Holland up there with Greg Seitz in second, Alessandro Di Tullio in third, Andrew Hardman, and then Julio Palacio, sort of a mainstay in this series, tied for fourth place, Reese.
Yeah, Julio came into this series as the favorite. He won the last 2 championships running, but hasn't quite been on the pace this season. It'll be interesting to see if he can get something back at this round, but David Holland being the dominant driver so far, he has won both of the opening rounds of the season.
Yeah, he definitely has. Let's take a look at the team points here, see how those are shaping up as well. On the team points side, Delta Sport has a 17-point lead over Rust Racing Iron. You got SRTE Blue and Atomic Racing, and Yellow Stripe Sim Sport rounding out your top 5. And then Evolve Sim Sports, Rust Racing Oxide, SRTE White, Atomic Geezers, and Virtual Motorsport Mentor Esports. That's a mouthful, Reese. They're back in P10. VMME, VME, I guess as you would say it. As the kids would say.
Yeah. Virtual Motorsport Mentor Esports has been active in the Australian scene as well in the AOG Cup that I commentate with our friends over at SimSpeedTV. So good to see here in PRL as well. It will be interesting to see if Delta Sport will be able to keep Rust Racing Iron behind them over the next couple of rounds. Their drivers obviously very quick. All right then. Qualifying coverage should begin in a couple of moments, and well, we only have 8 or so minutes remaining in the qualifying for Formula 3. Currently, no surprise to see that David Holland is in those standings. Only 2/10 exactly ahead of Connor Wagner in Q1.
Yep, so we'll see him here. Of course, this is a pretty fast and short course. Now, one of the benefits of the race tonight, Reese, unlike what we will see for Petit Le Mans this weekend on the iRacing channel and other platforms, is that there's no multi-class traffic here. There's no danger of that, but these cars will still be going fast. This is Greg Seitz right now, currently P2 in the points, and trying to set a fast lap there. He's currently P3. Here's Julio. Hopefully he can rebound tonight. Look at that beautiful, that bright paint. I tell you, I'm a fanboy for bright colors. I don't know if that makes me like, I don't know what that says about me.
Oh, it's,
I'm one of those ooh shiny people, you know.
I think you have a functioning ocular nerve. That is that is my true medical assessment of that. Yeah, I love seeing those bright fluorescent highlights on cars. That's actually something that I was thinking about when you asked me that question in the Formula 4 race. I do like cars that have those nice bright highlights. Unfortunately, it looks like Scott Barton has spun it out of the 10A and 10B chicane, and it looks like a little bounce coming over the grass as well. These cars, the Delta Sport cars, I'm a big fan of this livery. I was watching the first 2 rounds of the season preparing for this broadcast, and the Delta Sport cars really stood out to me. I mean, you know, red, it's a very commonly used color, but I think they've had a very tasteful application of it on this livery. It looks like a livery you would see on an F3 car in real life.
It really does. And what I like about those liveries is that it really accents the curves and the shapes of the car, which is important in a really great livery. So nice job there. This is Connor Wagner, the other Delta Sim Sport driver, who's currently on an out lap based upon that lap time. If that's a real lap time, then he's going to have some, yeah.
Certainly. Greg Seitz doing very well too. He's the driver in second place in the standings, and he's finished third both rounds so far. So I'm interested to see what Seitz can do here too. Tommy Brisson, meanwhile, currently number 43 and 17th. That looks like a slight improvement for him. It's up to 16th place in the midst of all of that. Daniel Kranifus in 8th spot. Is there going to be any improvement for him? Lap times very short at Road Atlanta. It's a pretty quick track, this one.
Yeah, it is a pretty quick track, and you kind of hinted at earlier, but if you're a road racer on the iRacing platform this week, you might as well just change your address to here, Reese, and just get comfortable. I mean, IMSA's running here, Formula C is running here. Of course, there's a special event this weekend. I'm sure there's others I can't think of, so you'll get to know the track by the end of the week if you don't. And of course, the next weekend, the weekend I believe of the 14th, 15th, will be the real life Petite Le Mans. That'll air in different areas depending on where you live.
Yeah, indeed. Le Mans is starting at about 8 p.m.-ish, 7 p.m. for me on Saturday. So it'll be a long night watching that one. San Diego currently in the draft train here. This is something about Road Atlanta that I always love, is the fact that we have this long back stretch leading into a tight braking zone to end the lap. This is where you're going to be seeing most of the passes tonight.
This is where you'll see most of the passes, and you'll also see a couple moves that are a little questionable or possibly end in contact, because it's a downhill. It leads to that big corner, and not everyone gets the car saved or wound up in time right there in that moment. Greg Seitz here still trying to put a better time down. He's currently a 1:12.794. Then he's gained about 0.3 of a second to beat David Holland in qualifying.
Yeah, it'd be a solid improvement on this one. Looks like he's caught a tiny bit of slipstream from J.R. Williams in the car ahead. Run to the line. They stick a bit tight here coming out of the last corner. For Seitz, it looks like it is not going to be an improvement that time by. We do have a couple of minutes left in the session, so still plenty of time to get things done here.
So I want to put you on the spot for a second with a question that I didn't prep you for. It's always fun to do. So I got put on the spot a couple weeks ago by our producer, Rafael Senke, and he was asking me for American tracks, Road Atlanta, Daytona, maybe the Glen. Why is it that we don't have as many corner names as we do for non-American tracks? Now, here's my theory, and tell me if I'm wrong. The American tracks don't have as many different configurations and layouts as non-American road courses. And so, like, the numbers are easy to follow because it doesn't matter what variant of the track we're on. Is that, in your opinion, why we don't have as many corner names for American road courses, or do you have a different theory?
I don't know. I think my theory might be a little more morbid. European tracks tend to have a longer history, and so more drivers have unfortunately had fatal accidents. I mean, we did see at Zandvoort, for example, the Gerlachbocht and the Rob Slaughtermacherbocht. Those corners were both named after drivers who unfortunately lost their lives at those locations. That generally comes with tracks that have been around since the 40s and the 50s. Road Atlanta was built in 1970. I suppose there have been some big accidents here, but I don't know. Potentially it comes from oval racing as well, being the dominant form of racing in the United States. You don't tend to name the corners on ovals, so maybe that carries over to the road courses as well. I honestly don't know.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good theory about tributes and paying, honor to drivers in those corners. That makes a lot of sense. But I mean, obviously, the Watkins Glen, I think, is one of the few exceptions for an American road course, has a lot of corner names. But at Daytona, we just have a couple. You have the two horseshoes, the Kink, and now I guess Le Mans Chicane. If you want to say it, I hate that name.
That's something. That's a pattern I've noticed, as Connor Wagner fails to improve on his time. Something I have noticed is that American tracks tend to name their corners after their shape or their location or the general nature of the corner. European tracks tend to name their corners more after, like I said, drivers or natural features in the area. I know that one of the kinks at Zandvoort when it opened was called Jandeweker zijn Veld, which is Dutch for Jandeweker's Field, because there was a guy that owned a farm in the area of that corner. So, yeah, maybe that's another reason. Andrew Hardman improves meanwhile. Puts him up to 5th spot, and the checkered flag is out in the qualifying session, Derek, so we're going to be seeing the last improvements from these drivers.
I think that also ends our TED Talk on road course naming conventions.
Yes.
Thank you for attending.
Yeah, they should. I'd like to see an academic paper on that sort of thing. Maybe I can write it. Okay, well, last few improvements potentially here for Mark McDonald, but that is going to bring to an end here for qualifying at Road Atlanta for the PRL Formula C Series. That is 20 minutes done and dusted. For the time being, we have a very big field to go through for the grid for this one. So get it started. David Holland getting... ...34 machines taking to the start here, Derek. It's going to be fun for the drivers in the back. Look up there. They are starting downhill.
It's going to be a busy day for the drivers in the back, trying to avoid whatever's going to happen. As you said, going downhill, this quick right-hander, pardon me. It'll be a busy moment there as everyone starts to grid on the track and they'll appear here. I'm excited for this race. Of course, this race is a little bit longer than the last one. We could go on laps or time. Typically in our history recently, we've done the lap count and we've beat the time by 2 to 3 minutes, but it all just depends upon the pace and what happens here in this track as far as when this race will finish.
Yes. You did note to me that J.R. Williams was talking about the fact that he's going to be on a cruise here. He's expecting some carnage early on in this race. It's going to be interesting here. Coming off the standing start as David Holland assumes his place on pole position. Standing start once more in these Formula 3 cars. A bit more power put down to the ground as the revs rise and we get ready for that standing start. PRL Formula C round 3 is go. Bit of a puff of smoke from Greg Seitz, little more wheel spin than the Delta Sport cars around him, and they swarm him as they come into turn 1 for the first time. Holland untroubled for the lead. Connor Wagner still right on the back of him, side by side between Hardman and San Diego for 5th place as everyone tries to make their way through turn 3 cleanly. Looks like drivers giving each other a good amount of space, but down through turns 5 and 6. Looks like the exit of this corner is going to be a big place where we see some potential mistakes, but everyone keeping it nice and stable for the time being, though I do see John Quinn losing some positions. Looks like he ran a little bit deep. onto the back straight then, Derek, and Holland's still in the lead.
The impressive part of that first lap and the first part of that lap there, Reese, is how quickly those drivers carefully got it from 3 and 4 wide down to 2 wide for the next couple of corners. I was kind of holding my breath, concerned about what was going to happen here. But hold on. Speaking of holding your breath, here comes a pass for the lead, and he's going to have that run onto the inside. That is Connor Wagner already making a move on a teammate.
Yeah, righto. Connor Wagner into the lead. Yes. Well, stablemate at the very least at Delta Sport. Mark McDonald suffering some issues. He spun coming out of the chicane, and it looks like there's some damage to the rear end of that car now. It's a real shame there for Mark McDonald. The leader's untroubled here. That might be an early swap for position between the cars for a little bit of fuel saving potentially. Remember, they do have to make a pit stop in this race as well, and it is likely going to be fuel only. You can take tires if you want, but your pit stop will be a little longer. Potentially, David Holland has just allowed Connor Wagner to make that pass. He didn't fight it, and maybe he can sit in the slipstream and save a bit of fuel and secure victory from there.
And one of the interesting things I like about this track, you mentioned that back straight earlier with the downhill. What I like about this track is not only you can use slipstream here and save some fuel, you could potentially use that downhill as a benefit. Hold on.
Yeah, that's a big spinner there. That's Adam Colasar, who's unfortunately had an issue coming out of turn 7, I believe.
That's Williams and Palacio there battling someone on the inside. I can't see who that is, but that got close side by side as well. That's going to be Krampus, or Kranfus. I can't say it right now, but Kranfus, pardon me, up there in P9.
Yeah, this is a very tight battle coming out of the final corner here. JR Williams and Julio Palacio trying their best to keep a close distance to Kranfus there. It's going to be difficult to make the move in this section of the circuit. This is basically a track that is single file all the way from turn 1 to turn 7, maybe turn 6. Have to keep an eye out there. Really, the only places we're going to be seeing passing are down into 10A and 10B at the chicane.
Yeah. Let's see a replay of what happened here. This would be, we were talking for a moment, almost missed this, or I missed it almost. Oh, just got it. I don't know what happened there.
Just lost the rear end on the way out of the chicane, and I think good on everybody for avoiding him. Donald, I think, got lucky there. Was able to go into
very
cars
unlucky
as he
there.
was spinning.
Got very unlucky there. No one hit him. You're right. Like, you didn't see him hit a curb. He just sort of lost it. Is this going to be it again right here? Oh, maybe he does get the. Yeah, maybe he does get that curb on the outside a little bit. But really good on him that he got it backed up into the wall. And I mean, look at all those cars. That could have been horrible calamity right there, Reese.
Yeah, certainly. Coming up over the rise there out of that chicane is blind, so you can't really see what's coming until you're out of the corner admitting. That's what happened to Colasar. Again, just losing the rear end by himself. Escaped any heavy damage, though, which is fortunate. So, help things further down the line. Back to the leaders. Connor Wagner holding off David Holland at the front of this field, and moving further on back, Andrew Hardman has started to break away from Alexander Rivera and is starting to...
Let's see what happened to Palacio here.
Eyes almost.
What is this? Keepo? Oh, hello.
Oh, whoa, goodness me. All right.
That is not Julio Palacio in the background. Something's going to happen. Oh, no.
Oh, lost the rear wing. How on earth did that happen? We might have to go back a bit further.
Got to go back way further. There was a car flying in the background that I was not prepared for, but wow. We'll come back to that, but I think I don't know what happened to Palacio. Was that almost looks like a hardware malfunction, Reese. I don't like to call those moments. It could be wrong, but just to veer to the right like that in that moment, I don't know.
Well, he didn't have the rear wing. He just lost all rear grip in that thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So looks like Leo Leung has been in the pits for the same amount of time. I think he was one of the other cars involved in that. So there was some kind of coming together for Julio Palacio, reigning series champion. Now, this might well be a drop round for him, probably a confirmed retirement from here.
And unfortunately for Julio Palacio, he's had a rough season so far. I mean, for someone, and the truth is he's at a P5 in points, so it's hard to say he's having a rough season. But let's see a replay again here and see if we can figure out what happens to him. This will be a little bit further back.
Oh,
Let's get run over. Oh, look at that. There's this, it's like that seafoam colored car there. It sort of slowed down, and it just sort of, everyone bunched up together like an accordion. And so Palacio got hit in the back, and that's what causes the cars behind him who go flying, I think. That is unfortunate for all involved right there.
It is. Well, no other big incidents to talk about so far other than that. One thing that has happened is that David Holland has gotten back into the lead of the race. Looks like he passed Conor Wagner some time before, and was totally fine with sitting behind him for a bit, but now he is on the pace and he's trying his best to hold off the pursuing pack behind. Greg Seitz is keeping himself very close into this battle. Mackenzie Roon and Kevin Sandiego, though, pressuring him behind. So looks like Greg Seitz is the Rust Racing filling in a double-breaded Delta Sport sandwich.
Yeah, this is a trend we see sometimes when you get bigger teams like this where they can kind of sandwich an opponent inside. And, you know, the good news about this league is we don't really see a lot of team orders. You don't see any intentional blocking, but these teams do work together to help them perform well. We're going to see our first bit of a lap traffic come up here in just a moment. And at this track, that will not be uncommon. I'm sure we'll see more than one car with how quick this track is. You know, the funny thing about this track, Reese, is that it's not really a small track. I mean, it's over 2 miles in length. It's not much shorter than the last track we saw, but with how fast it runs, it feels shorter.
Yeah, that's a good point you make. I mean, basically half the track is straights, right? You've got the long back straight, you've got the start-finish straight too. Then you've got a beautiful sequence of quick and flowing turns. Another replay here. This is what happened to Julio Palacio. So, had the cars battling ahead of him. I think one of them might have been long. And
that's J.R. Williams on the outside there.
Yeah, okay. That's what happened to Palacio. Yeah, so he had to back up and someone made rear-end contact with him. And that's how he lost the rear wing. And then, yeah, the no grip left in the car. Probably destroyed the suspension as well. That whole car is now destroyed.
That whole car is destroyed. That was a hard hit. Even from a replay, just sitting here, not in a rig, that was a frustrating hit to see happen right there. But yeah, that's unfortunate. Well, now we're up to lap 8 of 36 here at Road Atlanta. Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta is the name it was given a few years ago with a sponsorship when Michelin bought into it. You know, the interesting thing that I noted back there, if we can go back to P10 for a second and see Gerald Williams' car, that's the car he made contact with. Is that car missing? It is missing part of its back end, right? I'm not crazy. Or am I? Let's see.
I barely see any damage at all on my end for J.R. Williams.
Okay.
I mean, might have just gotten lucky there.
He must have, because, yeah, that's who Palacio made contact with first, and then it sort of accordioned backwards. So I was expecting to see a little bit of damage, but I guess not. You're right. And that's why Williams is still up here in the top 10 and able to run that car since he got away with that mostly unscathed in that moment.
Yeah. Car 91, Mackenzie Roon. Well, I noticed on the timing sheet that Kevin Sandiego had made his way past, and that's why. Managed to get back going without much incident, but that could have been a lot worse. Oh, well.
So, of course, it's been a busy day, Reese, in the world of video game news or simulation news, however you want to look at it. Of course, you know, make the transition here. But, you know, today it was announced that iRacing will become the new partner for NASCAR simulations in 2025 with the console games. And then, so I was doing my research on this track today and realized I was surprised. It's not until Gran Turismo 7 in November of 22 that Road Atlanta made its first appearance in a Gran Turismo game. Yeah. Do you remember, video game wise, what's the first time you remember racing at or seeing Road Atlanta? Do you remember?
I remember obviously driving on it in other sims. I stuck to Gran Turismo. There's another move there. David Holland making his way back past Conor Wagner again. Wagner made his way into the lead here with another slipstream into the chicane. Looks like these two Delta Sport cars up the front just trading places for the time being. A little time running behind, save a bit of fuel. Spend a little time running behind, save a bit of fuel. Or go straight back to the Wagner, I think, is making a statement here versus David Holland as they're side by side coming into turn 3. Gets into the grass and the lead move is completed. Unfortunately, this battle has brought Greg Seitz right into the battle in the top 3. He could be looking at a win here if Holland and Wagner come together.
See, at first I thought these guys were doing it strategically, Reese. I thought they were kind of trading back and forth to help so that everyone was saving fuel appropriately. But then there was that side-by-side run from basically, as you said, 1 to 3. And I think that's where they, if that was the plan, that's where they accidentally blew the plan up, was that side-by-side moment and letting Seitz in. But I thought these guys were actually pretty magically doing it correctly. Maybe that wasn't the plan, and that's just the way it looked.
Yeah, maybe. I honestly don't know. Slipstream again here for Holland.
Because that's the way to do it right there.
10A. Yeah, exactly. Didn't lose any time there on the entry, but regardless, Seitz is still right there.
So I just want to finish the topic from before. So you were saying you were a Gran Turismo fanboy. So is that the first time you would have raced this track outside of iRacing?
No.
Would be GT7?
No, it would have been R Factor. Would have been R Factor.
Okay.
I didn't play any of the more recent Gran Turismo games. I did Gran Turismo 3 and 4, and then I was PC Sim Racing.
So I'm pretty sure for me, I don't remember which Forza it was. I know I would have seen Road Atlanta in one of the Forza games. One of the earlier Forza games, like 3 maybe
Definitely.
in my head is. But that's what I was thinking today. That had to be my first exposure to this track.
Yeah, indeed. I've always loved Road Atlanta. It's always been a track close to my heart. Beautiful layout, very challenging to drive, and satisfying. You nail a lap or a pass here. Speaking of passes, it looks like Conor Wagner is rounding up David Holland once again. Into 10A and 10B they go, and Holland rolls out of the throttle, lets his teammate by, but you know what? Greg Seitz will be looking at this and licking his lips, because this is exactly the situation you want as the driver, running in third behind two teammates, seeing them pass each other, battle each other a little bit, and lose infinitesimal amounts of time. You know what Seitz could be doing here? Sticking in the draft and saving fuel for a shorter pit stop.
He could, because he doesn't have to move back and forth with a teammate to give it the equal time or whatever you want to call it. He's just going to get the benefit regardless, no matter which one's in front of him. And what he really is the benefit of is if they mess up that pass one more time, then he will be right there in contention to make that pass as well. I can't believe how much time to let him catch up when they went side by side.
Yeah, I mean, and it's especially through turns 2 and 3. You know, that's definitely a single line sequence of corners there. If you have the misfortune of running side by side, it looks like Seitz is going for it here on David Holland. And he is just ahead when they get to the braking zone. How hard is Holland going to fight this? Very hard indeed. Seitz, though, around the outside, gets the inside line for 10B and is through into second. Beautiful move.
Yep, that is a great move right up there into that spot, and has now come to meet in that sandwich as you talked about. Now it's just a single layer sandwich compared to what we thought we saw earlier. So Seitz now will be ready to make that move here with Wagner. The question is now, will Holland help push Seitz back up there and close that gap?
Yeah, that is the question. Holland does have Kevin Sandiego there in fourth behind him. That's another Delta Sport car. So they might want to work together, work past Seitz. Battle for fifth, meanwhile. Aussie Milwane gaining 4 spots from where he started. It's been a very good run for car 14. But Rivera and Rune, the recovering Mackenzie Rune behind. 91 has obviously suffered a spin earlier at pretty much that exact location and is trying to steadily work their way forward. doesn't seem like they've got much of a slipstream going on. Great. Meanwhile, Holland is going to try and take back second place here from Greg Seitz up the inside and moves back onto the racing line by the time they get to the corner. Once again, beautifully executed pass. Seitz back to third. All of that rigmarole has given Connor Wagner just a little bit of an advantage here, though.
It really has, and I feel like now the battle here really is going to be on pit road. Obviously, you can make passes on track and you can make things happen, but I feel like the amount of time in box or your total pit road delta is almost going to be the determining factor for these 4 drivers: Wagner, Holland, Seitz, even San Diego up there, by the way, right there. I mean, not that far back. He's within beneficiary range of his own slipstream, so we'll wait and see. But another one to call out real quick here: Robert Ridgway up to 15th, by the way. That's a nice improvement over the qualifying run.
Yeah, it definitely is. Most positions gained in the entire field belongs to Caleb Lehman, who is up 13 places to 14th spot. It's an incredible run there. Michael Broomhead also having a great run in the opening laps too, cutting his grid position in half, going to 11th. So, good spot for those drivers to be in as things stand. Front runners in the single digits in positions gained and lost, if any.
So we're starting to come up close to the halfway point of the race. We're now working lap 15. So, of course, 18 would be the magic number for halfway. As we've seen in history, that's a tight 2-wide corner right there. Typically, these drivers like to run it long. You don't see too many people on the undercut side of the pit stop in the F3 races. Typically, they want to try the overcut side. And here's Tommy Brissom, by the way. This is the driver, the number 43 car, running up to P15. So I'd say probably lap 22 to 25, I think, is when we get most of our pit stops in.
Yeah, keep that number in mind. Really going to benefit Wagner and Holland at the front of the field, who looks like that lead battle is now completely been eliminated for David Holland. Side by side on the way down the back straight. Braking zone for 10A and 10B will belong to him. Wagner decides, okay, I'll let him go. Start trading places once again. And tell you what, lack of side-by-side running between these two is benefiting them. Look how far behind Seitz is now.
Look how far behind San Diego is, in fact, back in P4. Remember, he was right there on them, felt like 2 or 3 laps ago, and now there he is. Now, San Diego, hold on. Oh, there was almost a side-by-side there. That would have closed that gap again. Luckily, Wagner thought the better of it and sort of backed out of it. But I'm telling you right now, Seitz or San Diego could be the beneficiaries of undercutting and getting out of this traffic into open air.
Yeah, for sure. That could be the big benefit for them. I'm sorry, I just noticed Robert Ridgway had a crash. He's lost his rear wing. So, and you know what? We were looking at the battle between Ridgway and Brisson earlier. It has unfortunately ended in tears for these two. Coming down the back stretch, we see that Ridgway tried to go for a move on Brisson, but they came together. Oh, lordy.
Not clear, driver.
Both cars with heavy damage from that, both Brisson and Ridgway in the pits. It looks like Ridgway is out. That's very unfortunate.
Yeah, you're right. I just, not sure if you got the clear call from the spotter or thought maybe he just moved too further than he meant to. But yeah, that's interlocking wheels and death for both vehicles, unfortunately.
Well, new life for Tommy Brisson. He managed to get those repairs done quickly. Just re-emerged back onto the racetrack, but I don't think we're going to be seeing any more of Robert Ridgway tonight. Real shame. So, David Holland and Connor Wagner, they have been controlling this race so far in the Delta Sport cars. Greg Seitz has been battling alone the Rust Racing machine to try and keep himself in the battle for the win, but I don't know if there's going to be much more chance of that unless the Delta Sport cars come together. Here's Mel Wayne, and Tommy Brisson has come out of the pits just ahead of these guys. Remember, that's not for position. The yellow car has to let its drivers go, and he does, coming out of turn 7.
Let's take a look back at the replay. It's going to be Blake Zeddy's going to spin it there. And that was a very slow long-lasting spin. But look at this, whipped it around there. Reason scored a caught a gear, and he's good to go.
Yeah, a bit more runoff there. So if you have a spin, it's not the end of the world unless there's cars involved. Oh, goodness. Pushing hard on the exit there was Aussie Millwayne. Trying to keep this position. Mackenzie Roon still recovering. Could look at another position here into turn 1.
Definitely could. Let's see what happens here into turn 1. Does look, but just decides maybe that's not the right space to make it happen.
Yeah, not quite. And Roon, unfortunately, missing the apex of turn 3 a little bit. That's going to allow Alexander Rivera to have a go at this position. The drivers are battling for the last position in the top 5, and that very wide there for Rivera. Fortunately, an access road there, allowing you to use the runoff. That's where track knowledge really comes into account, Derek. You know, at a track like Road Atlanta, there's certain places around the circuit where you can afford to run through if you make a mistake. Certain parts of the track you can use to keep your time nice and low. Drivers who know this track well definitely have the advantage there. It's not just about the fastest way around the corners here, as Roon finally gets past Aussie Millwayne and back into the top 5.
Yeah, and you know, to finish that thought, as far as knowing the track and making good choices, I was thinking earlier when we were watching the battle into turn 1 about, I was like, would he make the pass? Would he not? Thought, why would you, right? When you have that back straight into 10A and 10B, where you have the easy passing opportunity, that said there was almost a pass right there on the inside. They're going to pass it maybe here. Oh, that is tight. Hold on.
You got to move back through onto the racing line there. It's very rare that you see passes being made at turn 3 once the race gets into its rhythm. It's looking like it's bringing Rivera back into this fight here out of turn 5, using all of the runoff on the exit to try and maintain that momentum.
I was going to say, though, with the track knowledge, when you know you can make that easy dive into 10A, you know, and get that easy advantage by taking inside lane, why would you want to push a pass anywhere else? Because 10A's is such an easy passing point, but that comes with track knowledge as well, of knowing, you know, when to make a move and when not to make a move.
Exactly right. And speaking
See, there's another one.
Yep. Here's Rivera going for it on Millwayne at 10A. And that was a textbook overtake on the way into the back in the 6th spot there for Rivera, but Millwayne decides it's time to go for the pits.
You know, it's interesting. We talked in the last race at Zandvoort about a difficult pit entry. That one's downhill and quick. It is easy to get caught speeding here compared to other racetracks.
Yeah, there's also a concrete wall on the way in too. So if you push too hard on pit entry, then you are definitely going to damage your car heavily. Top 2 still jetting away from Greg Seitz, and Connor Wagner at the moment with the fastest lap. But Holland is starting to press on to that. 1 minute 12.964 is Connor Wagner's fastest lap time. David Holland's last lap was a 13.0, and that best lap of the race. Let's see what the Delta Sport cars do here, as we've had pit stops for Richard Swindells and Michael Blaze as well. Either of these drivers go for the pits. In fact, both of them go for the pits, and Seitz stays out. No, he doesn't, actually. Sorry. Was looking in the wrong place there. Seitz following the top 2 in. Does San Diego follow them in?
San Diego was already in, and based upon his timing, he's back in P12. So I was looking for the same thing, but yeah, he must have came in last time by.
Right, and it looks like
so. That'll be the question: is what benefit does he get? Yeah, almost everyone's in this time. So about lap 21. So close to the range I thought would be in. But now I'm curious what San Diego can do if he does find any time to be gained here. But I don't think so. He's going to get close. You see him gaining up to field pretty fast back to P4. But it's pretty easy to get off of pit road and back up to speed here.
Yeah, it is. It's a very simple pit exit here at Road Atlanta. So see that Broomhead, Haynes, Groff, Colasar, Quinn, and Vargas also making their stops, and it looks like Nicholas Colander is jumping into the pits too, and with that, the entire field has completed their mandatory service for this race. David Holland and Connor Wagner still in the lead. Greg Seitz, meanwhile, he had a good run through pit road, but he has lost touch with the top two, and it looks like Milwain and Rivera still not done here for 6th place as Wagner goes into the lead. That is the pass completed into 10A and 10B for him, but it's not over here. Have a look at this. Daniel Kranifus with an excellent run through pit lane. He's trying to go for it here. He's a bit boxed in, though, on his way into 10A and 10B. Don't make it 3 wide, guys. And it looks like they've sorted that one out, but it's still going to be side by side between
I don't think they have.
and Rivera. It's not done. It's not done. Have a look at that. Kranifus, he started this battle behind these two cars, and it looks like he's going to have a go at being in front of them by the time they get to turn 1. Milwain has to give him room on the inside, but he doesn't. Oh, dear.
And Milwain is the only driver of those 3 to survive that incident with no damage. So Rivera had the incident there and spun it out. I think his car's okay. And of course, we just saw the whole back wing come off of the other car there. So Milwain was the only one to come out unscathed, I think.
Yeah, so Rivera...
Oh, no, Milwain hit him. Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
It's all right. You have to turn in for turn 1. It's not a corner where you can hold the outside. It's so quick. It's so sharp. So if you're trying to make a move into that corner, you have to be aware of that when you're on the inside of someone, unfortunately.
Yeah, you can see the little bit of damage to the back of that car there. Wow, what a crazy moment and a great battle. Unfortunately, ends that way with the calamity and the spinning and the damage. But what a great moment! I want to watch Ozzy Milwain here for the next couple of laps to see if that car seems to be okay. The lap times will tell us pretty quickly if that car suffered damage from rear-ending the car in front of him. But here, I mean, look at this. He's still under attack here. Just a difference. But this is Alexander Rivera back in P12. Now he's under attack from Jeff Groff and Adam Kolsar right there.
And Kolsar has the benefit of the slipstream. Groff, size discretion is the better part of valor, and backs out of the move into turn 1, but under pressure from the number 7. Nice run through turn 3, though. Hit the curb beautifully, then carries the momentum through the corner. Daniel Kranifus, meanwhile, down into the pits for the 2nd time. I think he certainly damaged he sustained from that incident. Once again, fortunate in that battle, top 5. That's going to end things for top 5 battle for now. Looks like a lot of space drivers, and I don't think there's going to be much of a fight, but still, fight continues here between Rivera, Groff, and Kolsar. Many of them decide to make a move into 10A and 10B. There's a look there from Groff, but once again, he's not close enough to make the move.
No, not close enough, but definitely still trying and putting the pressure on. Sometimes the pressure you can put on a driver from behind is more important than the move you can make. If you can make them feel the pressure and maybe they want to push harder than what they're supposed to, you can cause that mistake to happen. But that's not the case here. Rivera's doing a great job at keeping calm and collected, and that's a hard thing to do. He was just involved in an incident and almost instantly was under attack. It is hard to maintain your cool that way. Now here's a pit road video, or a replay of something on pit road here, off of pit road actually. Oh, just a random replay. Sorry about that. So now I want to bring us to our second. Oh, hold on.
Oh, Kolsar.
That's Kolsar.
Caught the curb.
And I think spun it uphill. That's pretty impressive. So I want to bring us into our second Reese Gardner TED Talk of the night. I have a separate racing question for you here. We discussed earlier how easy it is to be back in the action here at Road Atlanta when you get off pit road. You're just kind of thrown right back into the action. For my second, I guess, America versus the world topic of the night, I feel like American racetracks are more likely to put you right back in the heat of action off of pit road. Do you think that is correct? And do you have an opinion as to why that is?
I don't have an opinion as to why it is, but I do see the point you're making. There are a lot of American racetracks that don't really have much of a blend back onto the racetrack like most tracks in Australia as well. It's an interesting point, isn't it?
So think about like the Road Atlanta exit. Think about even the Daytona exit.
Ohio.
Mid Ohio is a good one. Some of the IndyCar circuits they run, it puts you right back in. Sebring's a good one. I mean, Alpha even Watkins Glen, for Pete's sake, like it puts you right there at the bottom of the S's off of the exit of pit road. Is it just that we build smaller racetracks? I don't know, but yeah, it's a very dangerous thing to be off pit road on an American racetrack.
Yeah, it definitely is. Probably, I honestly don't know. I think it might just be coincidence. Something else.
Well, now you have 2 academic papers to write.
Yes, I do. Maybe I can combine them into one. Less work. Differences between American and European racetracks. An analysis. Oh, God.
First,
Yes, see.
Reese doing an awesome job filling in for Joe Peak tonight, who's out with other obligations. Reese, you had no idea that subbing in for commentary came with homework, did you?
No, certainly not. I mean, I usually do my homework anyway. You know, on my YouTube channel, I talk about racetracks, and I recently put out a huge video on the history of Zandvoort, which is why I'm so well versed with the knowledge of that track. Hey, what, Derek? You're actually giving me a few video ideas with these discussions.
So 10-ish laps to go here. David Holland still leading here over Connor Wagner. Wagner, of course, has the fastest lap of the race. Now, you would think at this point, when we go back to that lead in a moment, these guys have got to be done swapping places, right? If they're still doing it, then we're going to learn quickly. In my mind, from a racing mind, that means they weren't doing it for fuel purposes. That's just them racing hard. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just worked out well for them that they've been able to stay ahead of sights in the midst of all of that. Fight, though, still not over.
Of course, we're still watching Jeff Groff and Alexander Rivera here. This battle's been going on for a while. It's a battle back for P11, P12. Going to see him come down one of the hills here. And then this will be J.R. Williams and Andrew Hardman and Ozzie Milwane. Milwane really is doing okay after that contact earlier, Reese. I was concerned that car might have had some front end damage, but he seems to have came out almost unscathed.
Yeah, it's worked out all right for Milwane, hasn't it? Still holds on to P6. Don't forget, Hardman driving roughly the same coloured car as Milwane, so they are teammates. So it's not going to be, I think, much of a hard racing mindset. They just want to try and protect from J.R. Williams behind, and they don't have much time left. Looks like Hardman is in the slipstream, and that is a very strong slipstream indeed. It's actually going to be a move into turn 1, or at least a look. That sends Milwane wide. It's the same thing we've seen before here, Derek. Milwane letting Hardman go into turn 3, and the opportunity is seen there for J.R. Williams, but he can't make the move.
How many more times can Ozzie Milwane be caught up in a battle in these corners with side-by-side or very close racing? I mean, he barely got away from it the first time, and he almost wanted to try to duplicate it again there.
Absolutely. I think they were very lucky to get away with that, because side-by-side between teammates, they obviously want to give each other a otherwise would in a battle. That could have been the opportunity that J.R. Williams was 6th, but not going to happen for the time being. Williams now needs to focus on staying in the slipstream and trying to catch up to these guys, as now Milwane all over the back of Hardman for the time being.
Meanwhile, I can tell you just from looking at the times that up front, it is almost identical on the times from where it was a couple laps ago between Holland and Wagner, about 0.3 of a second here, as they're going to start to catch more and more lap traffic. Watch this pass here, and that car is going to pull over and let these guys battle.
That's Michael Blaze that let those guys through. Car 100 down in P19.
Blade's having a decent statistical night. He started at the P30, almost the back of the field. So up to P19, while it's not a podium, that's still a very solid improvement over that qualifying spot.
Yeah, it certainly is. We have to keep an eye out for Tommy Grissom covering Tommy Grissom. That's interesting there. Conor Wagner off a little bit at the end of the straight. Just trying to think about a move. David Holland knows that they've still got plenty of time left in the race, and you can see how strong the slipstream is, right? There's if you're behind a car coming out of the corner, you are going to be alongside them unless you lift off. And I think for Wagner knows that it's best to wait until the final lap to try and make that kind of move, because that's less chances for Holland to come back at him.
Well, there's the old saying that, history's bound to repeat itself, and Wagner has to remember what happened the last time that these guys got side by side. They let third place get up in the battle, and it became a really tight battle for a long time. So if you're Conor Wagner, the last thing you to do is cause a side by side battle that nobody wins, because both you will lose in a sense if you put Greg Seitz back in this race again.
Yeah, exactly. They do have a big advantage over Greg Seitz. He's 5 seconds back from him. So I think they could afford to battle a little bit if they wanted to, but I think they got that out of their systems early on, and now it's just flying in formation until the final lap, and then they can decide which of them is worthy of victory here at Road Atlanta. Meanwhile, car 18 of Joshua Chinsky battling with John Quinn for the 16th position on the track, and looking at the two of them, seems like they're very well matched. Quinn just a tiny bit faster than Chinsky on the last lap as Wagner moves into the lead versus David Holland. We had all of that talk about waiting for the move. Like Wagner decided that was not the best course of action. Up the inside at turn 1.
Not the place we've been seeing the battle all night either, up there in turn 1. Typically, of course, as we said, 10A has been the spot, but Wagner waited and then pulled out there for turn 1 and made that beautiful pass. Now he's up in the lead, having a pretty awesome night. Of course, currently running P1 and has that bonus point for fastest lap of the race. So pretty solid points night for David Wagner. Of course, David Holland came in tonight, your points leader, and he's going to try to make the pass here, Reese, and get that lead back.
Yeah, I think they're well aware. They don't have to worry about Greg Seitz for the time being. Seitz is on his own, no slipstream, no nothing. No way he can catch up to these guys in the last few laps of this race unless they have a crash, which of course they have to do their best to avoid. Backing off there for Wagner. Close enough to make the this time. Back off a bit, wait for the next opportunity.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing in my head. I was like, guys, just if you're gonna do this pass back and forth thing, just do it safely. Don't put yourself in a horrible spot here just to get a pass here with about 4 laps to go. You've had a great race so far. Don't blow it up here. But up and down the field, there's still some great battles going on. Of course, there's still Hardman and J.R. Williams back there at only a second apart. And then you're gonna have Joey Haynes and Alexander Rivera still battling hard. There's still great battles up and down this field. That's one of the great things about this PRL F3 series, is that maybe not everyone battles for the lead every week, but they still battle hard and they fight for every spot. Points matter here. Every spot pays out points, so it's worth fighting for. You never know where those points will matter at the end of a season.
Exactly. Consistency is what wins championships, and need to be aware of that in a season as long as this. Remember, 10 rounds over 10 weeks. So you're David Holland, the championship leader going into this round. Try and stay out of trouble. It's okay if you finish second on the road here. As long as you get the car to the end. It's the old adage, to finish first, you must first finish.
That's very true. And even if you can finish first to a teammate, that'll only open up that team point standing even more. We saw some smoke there. I'm not sure what from. Maybe we can find a replay. I'm not sure what that caused that, but that had to be a scary moment when you're a driver coming up those hills to see that smoke and not exactly be sure what it's from. Here we go. This will be the replay I was looking for. This will be Blake Zeedy.
Oh,
Oh, just spun it around there. Overall, no contact.
But I think
And
he's decided that
that's it.
done. He's back in the pits now. So that's unfortunate there for Blake Ziti. Last car running on the lead lap. In 18th position. So at the end of his night, only a few laps from the end, and battle for the lead still ongoing here. Nose cone to diffuser for our two Delta Sport cars in the lead of the race.
Coming to 3 to go, and I gotta admit, they make me, 3 to go now. They make me nervous a little bit with how close they're getting here. I mean, I respect the fact that they're racing. There's no team orders. There's no team priority. There's no 1 car or 2 car. It's go race and, do what you need to do. But man, oh man, to how close they get there on a track like this with all those twisting corners makes me a little nervous.
Yeah, it does for me too. I mean, especially since here's Haynes and Rivera going at it once again. It looks like, yeah, that's Haynes going up the inside of turn 1 on Rivera. Done there. Yeah, considering what we saw in the F4 race, how, tiny bits of contact can result in incidents. These F3 cars we saw, minor contact turning into something as well. So teammates racing each other as hard as they are, it does make me a little bit nervous as well.
What a great battle we've had going on here. And really, Alexander Rivera has been a part of a great battle all night long. And, unfortunately, had the contact in the first one, but rebounded back instantly and is still battling. But speaking of great battles, here we are, Holland and Wagner. Holland's back in the lead, by the way. Now going to come through these tight, winding corners here. Now that 28 machine is now leading us around, or they were leading us around. I think that was a replay.
Yep, this is the how the move was made. Holland diving up the inside at 10A.
Pretty familiar. Oh, that might be the closest we've seen him in 10A, though. I thought for a second he wasn't going to let him get back on track there, Reese. I thought he was just going to block it and make Holland back out of it, actually.
Yeah. They're going to come up to the white flag this time by. So now the pressure is on here for Conor Wagner to make the move. But has he just done it too early? That's the question. By making the move down the back straight into 10A and 10B, he has just given Holland a free ride to another overtake on the last lap of the race. So, Delta Sport versus Delta Sport as the final lap begins here at Road Atlanta. Who is going to take it, Holland or Wagner? Holland backs off coming into turn 1. He's gearing up for a move into 10A and 10B at the end of the race.
And I like what you said with how easy that pass is to 10A and 10B. I agree with you. I would want to be the guy waiting to the last lap to make it. It's no different from a NASCAR side, how you wait to the last lap to make your big drafting move and make the pass. You don't let someone get by you again. Wagner will have to make this car as wide as possible. Oh my goodness. Down here into these corners.
Yeah. Wagner ran a little bit wide out of turn 5, went over the bumps, got unsettled, and now puts down the power. But David Holland will have the slipstream down the back straight. All he needs to do is secure the move. But teammates battling like they have, I get the feeling that Wagner is going to fight this very hard. Out of the slipstream, the speed equalizes a little. Holland is ahead on the way into the braking zone, but Wagner is fighting it in the braking zone. Holland with the inside line. Is it going to be the over-under from Conor Wagner? He has the inside coming through the final corners. It's going to be a drag race to the line between the Delta Sport cars, and across the line, it is going to be Conor Wagner who wins the race.
Wow, they touched a little bit coming out of the final corners, and I tensed up, but what a great pass by Conor Wagner to take the win here at Road Atlanta.
Fantastic battle between those two teammates. Shout out to Delta Sport. That was fantastic. Cars coming across the line here. It looks like J.R. Williams way up into 7th. Up to the battle between Hardman and Main. Himself out very nicely. Like cars very spaced out. Haynes taking Jeff off across the line, and Caleb Lehman up 14 spots. Same for Manuel Vargas as well. Great run.
Yeah, great runs indeed. We'll see the last of the cars come through the track here. Maybe any last second moves for a spot or two, but what a great race it's been. You see everyone kind of now starting to cool down the laps here as some drivers are still finishing. Wow, what a great race that was. What a great finish that was. Exciting passes. A lot of lead changes here. Something you don't see in a lot of F3 races here in the PRL series, but today was definitely the variant to that rule, I guess.
Wow, what a fantastic fight. Rode it. Connor and David take race. Greg Seitz managed to catch up to them a little bit, ultimately 3.79 seconds behind. That makes Seitz a third place finisher in all 3 rounds so far. Kevin Sandiego and Mackenzie Roon round out the top 5, with Andrew Hardman, J.R. Williams, and Wayne working themselves out in that order in the battle for 6th. Michael Broomhead and Joey Haynes round out the top 10. Alexander Rivera and Jeff Groff. And 12th, Lehman, Colasar, Vargas, Chinsky, Quinn, Blaise, Brisson, and Colander. Top 20. Last driver to fit lap there. And then we have Ridgway, Jasper, Bartin, and Swindells lap down. James Carter 2 laps down, and then we get into retirement territory. Blake Zeete spinning just a few laps from the end. Daniel Cranifus, heavy damage for him. Same for Stephen Ridders, Tom Desube, Mark McDonald. It's early retirements. Alex Cord, Leo Hoyen Lung, last year reigning champion, out heavy. And Stephen Larkamp, first driver to retire from this race. Big shame for a lot of drivers in the field, but opposite for Connor Wagner, who gets his first win of the season. Fantastic fight between those two teammates.
Yeah, what a great fight it was. As you said, I mean, they made contact, Reese, down to the final corners. I thought for sure they were going to lose it. Not wishing bad ill on them, but I was just so convinced they were going to lose it. Well, let's go and start this off now, and let's talk to P1 and see how this goes. Connor Wagner, oh my gosh, what a great last lap battle. How did that feel from inside the car?
Oh, stressful, to be honest. I honestly, I didn't know how that race was actually going to go. I didn't know if it was going to be better to be behind in the last lap or to be in front. And so I didn't know. I just tried it and it worked out. So I would say a little bit of luck was on my side there for sure, but really good racing by David to give me room, and it was a lot of fun.
So I think it's fair to ask you now, since the race is over, the passing you guys were doing before the pit stops, was that a fuel strategy that was worked out, or was that just how the race was flowing?
I think so. It wasn't for fuel. It was more just like it felt like it was quicker to just pass each other back and forth. Of course, there was the one incident into turn 1 where we really held each other up, but that was more my fault than David's. And then after that, we kind of got our ducks in a row and were able to check out from Greg and Kevin. And then it just let us really go hard the last couple laps. So there was no team orders or anything like that. We were just having fun, and it worked out in my favor this time. So
we just brought David into the interview booth as well. We'll do this side by side. So I'm going to ask you both, who was more nervous in the last lap when you made contact? I know it wasn't on purpose, but you guys made a little bit of contact. Connor or David, which do you think who was more nervous about that contact?
Oh, I didn't even know that we made contact, honestly.
I know I was nervous when I almost lost it in turn 5, but I don't remember.
I was going to say, based on turn 5, maybe Connor was feeling the nerves.
Yeah, I was a little nervous for sure, but
well, I'll tell you guys this: if you didn't make contact, it kind of looked like it from the aerial view. If you didn't make contact, it is only by maybe an index card or so that you did not. So, David, what was that last lap like for you beyond turn 5? How crazy was that?
It was pretty crazy. I knew I was going to have to get a really good run onto the back straight. And, Connor and I were racing a bit at the beginning, kind of, I guess, sizing it up a little bit. We figured once Greg reeled us in that obviously wasn't going to work, so we settled down a bit. But yeah, I mean, I knew it was going to come down to the chicane. I got a really good run down the straight. I think I was completely ahead, but obviously didn't want to come over right in front of Connor. I wasn't sure if I still had overlap or not. And then coming out of the chicane, again, I wasn't really sure if I had enough overlap to come over on the inside. It looked like he got a really good exit and kind of had his nose in there. So I pretty much just had to hang on to what I had and hope for the best coming out of the final turn. But yeah, he just barely squeaked it by this time. But big congrats to him. Connor, you had a ton of pace tonight.
Thank you.
You guys
Yeah, it
are
was
doing really
fun.
well this season. Yeah, you guys are doing well. I mean, Delta Sport obviously will maintain your team lead. David, you're gonna, you came in tonight leading the points, so you'll probably still be doing so or close. So, and Connor, you're having a great season as well. Well, listen, great job to both you guys. Thoughts on next week's race?
I guess I can go. I know Red Bull Ring is going to be another fun track for racing, so it should be just another back and forth battle, hopefully. And I know it'll be David will be there. I'm guessing Greg and Kevin will be there too, and hopefully we can get Mackenzie up there battling with us, and it should be a bunch of fun. So.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Red Bull Ring is always fun. Thanks for going first, Connor, because I didn't even know it was Red Bull Ring next. But yeah, it's going to be fun. Just some final thoughts for tonight. Delta Sport, we had a great showing. I think we had all 4 of us in the top 5, so a great run by Kevin and Mackenzie too. And Greg, of course, always had a ton of pace tonight too. So congrats to him on finishing out the podium.
All right, guys. Well, listen, great job to both of you. We'll let you go and celebrate your 1-2 there. But great job, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Awesome.
All
Thanks,
right, that's Connor Wagner and David Holland. Reese finished 1-2, and they both seem pretty stoked about the way that went.
Yeah, they absolutely did. That's fantastic stuff from those guys, and a brilliant battle through to the end. You know what? I'm really happy that I was filling in for this round, because it was a very entertaining night of racing here. Of course, we do go to Red Bull Ring for the next track in the PRL Formula 3 series. That is going to be a fantastic track. Plenty of slipstreaming opportunities, Derek. Plenty of overtaking opportunities at those tight hairpins.
Yeah, very tight hairpins there, of course, well known as an F1 track. So I'm excited to see how it goes. But Reese, thanks for filling in this week. I don't know if you're back next week or if Joe Peak will make his triumphant return. I guess we'll wait and find out.
Yeah, indeed we will. If I'm back next week, I'll see you all next week. But for now, thanks everybody for watching on RaceSpotTV here, the Precision Racing League Formula D and Formula C series. Once again, I'm Reese Gardner, Derek Watson with me in the comms box. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you next time.